We're learning more tonight about the indictment of former President Donald Trump. We're going on to Washington, D.C., where our correspondent Josh Wiltenberg is standing by. Josh, what new information have you learned about the arraignment of the former president?
Well, what we know is that Trump's going to surrender sometime between now and next Tuesday afternoon at 2:15, which is when his first court hearing will reportedly be. There's still no word exactly on what charge or charges the president's facing because the indictment is still under seal. But what we do know is that the indictment is related to the alleged hush money payment that his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, made to adult film star Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged affair between Daniels and Trump prior to the 2016 presidential election.
What is Trump saying about the indictment?
Yeah, so Trump has been criticizing Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, calling him a disgrace. He's also denied any wrongdoing when it comes to this matter. He says he did not have an affair with Stormy Daniels, and he called the indictment, quote, fake, corrupt, and disgraceful. And it's also, he's pointing to this part of this, quote unquote, ongoing witch hunt that's been against him.
Some Republican lawmakers are in a war of words with Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. What's the latest on that, Josh?
So Bragg defended his decision in a 6-page letter that he sent to Republican lawmakers on Friday. Bragg rejected Republicans' accusations of political persecution as, quote, baseless and inflammatory. There's been 3 House Republican committee chairs that are trying to get Bragg to come here to D.C. to testify about internal discussions when it comes to this investigation. You have the Judiciary Chair, Jim Jordan. You have the House Oversight Chair, James Comer, and the Administration Chair, Brian Stile. But what Bragg says the 3 of these men are doing is, quote, unlawful political interference, and you're not likely to see Bragg show up here in D.C.
Does law enforcement have any concerns about any violence next week?
Yeah, so preparations are being made. The New York Police Department is pulling out all the stops, as are federal law enforcement officials. Obviously, Secret Service that's around former President Donald Trump. They are all working together to make sure that what happens on Tuesday goes off without a hitch. It's unlikely that you're going to see what we call in the media a perp walk, basically when you see a defendant walk into a courtroom. You're likely to see that Trump will probably find some back way into the courtroom so that he does not mix with members of the media, with the public, any cameras, just to kind of avoid all of that circus, if you will. But I can tell you here in D.C., the U.S. Capitol Police have stepped up security around the Capitol complex just in case any political violence were to take place.
What does this mean for Trump politically?
Yeah, so Trump's about to do an unprecedented thing, which is to be a former president and walk into a courtroom and enter a plea in a criminal case against him. But it should be noted that even as he's charged, he can still run for president, and he said he's going to run for president. In fact, he could still be convicted of a crime, and it's likely he's going to face a felony in this case, and he could still serve as president. Obviously, that would be a pretty amazing situation to see, but nonetheless, legally, that is still the case. Now, I did speak with a Republican strategist just yesterday, and she believes that this indictment against Trump will ultimately seal the Republican nomination for him. And she said basically if she was one of the other candidates running as a Republican for president, that she would be scared of that exact same thing. But at the same time, she did point out that there is a difference between a primary election and a general election. And she feels while maybe this helps Trump in a primary, it doesn't really close the gap when it comes to the general election. And so ultimately, obviously, we have to go through that primary process and see if Trump makes it out of that and to see how this case plays out. But nonetheless, she's making a difference between what would happen in a primary and a general election.
WBKO's Washington, D.C. correspondent Josh Wiltenberg.